Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Premiership Quarter. Today, I will be doing my predictions for the Essendon Football Club in the upcoming 2024 AFL season. I will be talking about their best 23 that I've predicted, their best and fairest, who's going to kick the most goals for them, who I think will be their most improved player over the season, and then also where I have them finishing in the ladder that I predicted that you can go check out in the link in description after you've watched this video. To start with, we'll talk about their backline. I've got the new recruit Mackay and Laverde as their two key backmen. I think Mackay was a great pickup for them. You were able to get him with a very high price, but it was worth it because it was a very bad need for them. They lost Zerk Thatcher to Port, and Mackay was very important for them to get. Even if he's overpriced, he's still a good player, and it probably will be more than likely he has a better season than what he has had at North Melbourne, simply because he's not getting 100 inside 50s put on him as the main key defender. Then you've got Jordan Ridley as their third tall, who I think is probably one of the most underrated players in the game at the moment. I think he's very similar to a player like Luke Ryan at Fremantle, who has made a couple All-Australian teams. And I think if Essendon do have a successful year, he will be absolutely pushing for an All-Australian 44-man squad position. Then you've got three rebounding halfbacks with this team. You've got McGrath, Redmond, and apparently Nick Martin will be trying out this position during pre-season. It's tough because I don't think they have a genuine lockdown defender. I think that could be something they go for either in the draft or as a recruit in the 2024 off-season. But with Redmond and McGrath already being established halfback flankers who are very quick and very damaging by foot, especially Redmond, who's, as we know, able to kick from outside 50 quite well, and he can kick the occasional goal from there. I think it can be a real weapon for them. They've also got Nick Hind on the bench, who I originally had in my position over Nick Martin, because I think he can be more of a lockdown than what Martin would. But as I saw Nick Martin training there, I thought he's probably better than what Hind would be. So I've switched the positions. I think they've got pretty good wingers. They brought in Dersma, didn't have to give up too much for him. And then they've got Nick Cox, who I've got there. I switched, when I moved Martin to halfback, I put Cox from the bench onto the wing. I think it's important for him just to stay healthy this season. If he can keep 20 games, playing as much as he can, then I think he'll show enough signs to the point where he can be trusted in the team week in, week out. And their forward line, I think, can be very up and down. Peter Wright obviously had a great season in 2021. I think he almost finished top 5 in the Coleman. Maybe he actually did. Kicked over 50 goals that season. Just hasn't found the health in the last couple of seasons. Harry Jones, for me, I think will definitely be in the team by the end of the season. But at the start, when Draper might not be playing and Goldstein's in the team, they might want to go for a smaller forward line. With Langford as more of that second, but in this team, I've got him as the third key tall. He had a great season last year. I think he also kicked over 50 goals, I think 54 in the end. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he had a great season last year, very close to the All-Australian team. I don't think he'll necessarily be able to perform at that level again because he was basically the number one option. And I think with Peter Wright fully healthy, he won't be. But he's also not going to be getting the best key defender on him every week anymore. So he'll probably average to about 40, 45 goals instead of that over 50. But I think that would be better for Essendon anyway. Then you've also got Stringer, Perkins, and Gresham. I think Stringer, obviously, it is a contract season for him. We know how well he performed in his last contract season. It's whether he can do it again this year. Obviously, he needs to stay healthy, but I think it's going to be tough. I think he is just older than what he was before. Whether he's got enough tank left in him, his legs are strong enough. I don't. I think it'll be 50-50 by the end of the season whether he stays in the team or not. Then you've got Perkins and Gresham as your pure smalls. I think Gresham's probably the most overrated player in the competition right now, coming from a St Kilda fan. There can be some highs with him as a player. He can sneak a good goal here and there, but normally he's very inaccurate with his set shots. His field kicking is absolutely atrocious. He can kick 30 meters straight up, and that's about it. He struggles to kick more than 40 meters, no matter if it's from a set shot or from a field kicking sense. And he can be quite selfish as well at times. So I'm not bullish on him whatsoever. But I also think it's Perkins' time to break out. He's had 3 or 4 seasons already. I think 3 seasons, 4 preseasons now. It's time for him to break out. He needs to become more consistent in his game. He needs to be more involved in the game. I think he can be that forward who plays like 50-50 mid-time. He will be quite important for them because, as I said, I don't rate Jade Gresham. So I think he will have to be their best small forward. And for them to be successful, he will need to take that leap and be the breakout player. Now for their midfield, I've got, as this is a fully healthy team, so I don't have Goldstein in, though he probably will be their starting ruckman early on. I've got Draper as their ruckman. When healthy, he's just electric, I think is the best way to put it. I don't think he's overly skillful. He's not top 3 in that sense. He doesn't have the most impact, but when he does get the ball, something crazy will happen. He's great in the air and he's great at centre bounce. So I think when he hits his best potential, he'll be great for them. Then you've got Zach Merritt, one of the best mids in the game. Just does everything that Essendon asked for him. Darcy Parish, I think if he stays healthy, then it's going to be a good season for him, but I don't see him hitting that 2021 form again, at least not this year. I think it's going to be important for him to just do his job, and he needs to be a bit more defensive than I thought he could have been last year. And then the last one that I have in there is Ben Hobbs. I was a big fan of his before the draft when he got drafted, and I think he showed a lot last year. I had him on my fantasy team, and he was a bit inconsistent, but when he scored quite well for a second-year player, and I have him being their breakout player for them this year. On the bench, as I said, Nick Hind will be switching as a halfback flanker for most of the season. Then I've got Sardis and Kelly as their 2 midfielders. I think Sardis has a great chance of winning the Rising Star, but he does have 4 midfielders that I think are ahead of him at the moment. So it'll be tough for him to break into there. Then you've got Jake Kelly, who I just think is a wingman. He's that third wingman if Martin is going to halfback. And then Dyson Happel is the leader off the bench. Their sub, Sam Durham, could have easily have been Todd Goldstein, but I just think with position-wise, he'd make more sense. Now, talking about their awards, their best and fairest, I've got Merritt winning it quite easily. I don't think there's going to be too much competition. He is just quite clearly their best player. Jordan Ridley, I've got second. I think, as I said, a Luke Ryan type. If they are good, he'll probably push for that 44-man squad. So I have him finishing second. I think he'll perform no matter how good they are. But if he does perform at that superstar level, basically, then he'll help them push for the 8. And then third, I've got Ben Hobbs. Obviously, he's also, as you can see, he's also in my number 1 for most improved. I just think he'll be that third midfielder, and he'll be very important to their success this year as well. I'll skip most goals for now. Harry Jones, I've got second. I don't think necessarily he'll improve to the point where he's kicking 50 goals per se, but I think he'll lock down that second key forward position next to Peter Wright. I don't think Goldstein and Draper will play next to each other for much of the season. I don't like how their games would mesh. And then third, I've got Sardis. I think he'll lock down that fourth midfield role. And maybe he starts over like Darcy Parish if he's not able to play every game, or he's just in a bad bit of form. Now their most goals, Peter Wright. I think it's fairly obvious he'll win it if he just plays every game. He is very, very good. Second, I've got Carl Langford. He probably won't get to that, as I said, 50 plus goals. I think him and Wright could very easily both kick over 45, so it's a bit of a toss up between the two. And then I've got third Harry Jones simply because I think he'll be playing every game. So he'll just kick 1 to 2 in most games and he'll kick maybe 35 to 40 goals for the season. To talk about their ins and outs for the season, I think their off season was quite successful. Obviously brought in Dersma, Goldstein, Gresham and Mackay as their big off-season targets. They were okay. I think Mackay, obviously, position-wise, is super important. Goldstein, I think, is part of a leadership role. I don't see him playing all the time and being an important cog to the team. Gresham, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think Dersma is going to be really good for them. And then their draft-wise, getting Nate Caddy is awesome for them. He could very easily be in this team, but I think at their best, Stringer is over him at the moment. I think he would replace Stringer in the team if there was a switch. And then they also got Roberts in the draft and Luman Lual, who I'm not too sure about as players. Now, on my ladder prediction, I think I had them finishing like 12th or something, which it's just, I think they've got probably the biggest gap if you were to talk about ranges. I think they could finish anywhere from 6th down to like 14th. It's tough to really rank where they are. I think them and Geelong are the two teams that have the widest margin in terms of their best and their worst. It's whether they play every game to where they're like rounds 1 to 20. But if they play every game like they did rounds 20 to 24 from last season, then it's going to be really tough to see the best out of this unit. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Essendon. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Comment your thoughts on what Essendon might be able to achieve this season, where you think their list's at. And thanks for watching.